Make the choice to begin anywhere in your life, and the journey has started. And along the way, be inspired. Listen to the stories by joining the president of Howard University, Dr. Wayne A.I. Frederick, on The Journey.
Student safety is always top of mind here at Howard University. We are always working to provide new and innovative ways of protecting all of the members of our community, which makes our upcoming guest and this conversation especially timely. I'm proud of the strides we've made towards making our campus a safer environment, and the person sitting beside me has been an integral part of those efforts. Hello, my name is Dr. Wayne Frederick, and my guest today on The Journey is Ariel Triplett, Director of Emergency Management and Safety for Howard University. Ms. Triplett, welcome to The Journey.
Thank you.
So it's great to have you. So you're a Howard alum. So as a fellow Howard alum, I'd love to know what initially drew you to the university. So maybe you could tell us a bit about your background, where you grew up, and where you went to high school before we get to the Howard story.
Sure. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and I went to Mother McCauley High School, and it's a liberal arts, all girls,
Okay.
white, white high school. And I decided that year, even though I had gotten into Purdue, I got into Purdue early, and I had a scholarship. I had visited Howard on a cold, rainy day, and I told my mom, I was like, this is it. I gotta be here. I know I'm supposed to be here. And there were some racial things that happened in school my senior year, and I convinced her, after she had already put a deposit down, and convinced her that I was going to Howard, and that's how I got here.
And you did that, although you had a scholarship at Purdue, you said. So you made that's a big choice. And what did you do at Howard?
Biology major. So I was a biology major, chemistry minor. I did lots of activities. I was also on the swim team. So I was on the swim team all 4 years. I had a scholarship for that. And I did Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated while I was here. And anything I could get into, I was trying to get into. So
Tell us a little bit about your home life in terms of your parents and your upbringing. Did you have siblings, and what did your parents do?
Absolutely. I have a sister, a younger sister. She almost went to Hampton, so there could have been some rivalry there, but she didn't. Both of my parents are from Chicago. My mom is a doctor, and my dad is a lawyer.
Okay. And I assume that your mom had significant influence over you doing biology with a minor in chemistry.
Absolutely. She likes to say that she did not, but she did.
Right.
And I really loved the sciences, starting really early in life, so I like experiments.
Okay, gotcha. So let's jump into, kind of public, campus safety. What got you into this field in the first place? And maybe you could tell us a bit about what happened after you graduated to kind of where you are now.
Sure, I did not come at this direct, right? So I came in a real roundabout, around the world kind of way into campus safety. I left Howard and got my master's in public health in a concentration in bioterrorism and disease control. Thought I was gonna study, tropical diseases and that kind of thing, maybe go to medical school. But I liked the concept of helping communities. And public health is one of those focuses where everything's about the community. It's not just about the one person you see. So when I went to St. Louis University for my master's degree, and then I left, went to Beverly Hills and worked for the city of Beverly Hills, and then I kind of made a tour around the world. Ended up in Atlanta, working and doing federal contracting. I came back here to DC, did some contracting as well, working at the Pentagon. And then I left and started higher education. So I was at High Point University in North Carolina. When I left there, I came back here because I got engaged. And then I ended up working at Six Flags doing emergency management and safety for roller coasters. Interesting, very interesting.
Very interesting.
And then I missed healthcare and science, so I went back to being the regional emergency manager for Kaiser Permanente here in the Mid-Atlantic, and then I was missing home, so I came on back here to Howard.
Great. Well, you're all right. You did kind of go around the world there to get back, but those are great experiences that I'm sure form the basis for what you do today. So let's talk a bit about campus safety. Lots of things going on recently in the news. North Carolina A&T had potential issue with a gentleman on campus who was found with a lot of ammunition and weapons. And then, unfortunately, the day after, they had a student who was shot and killed nearby. So these are germane issues. It's happening on our campuses a lot. The issue at Michigan State not too long ago. So as we look at where campus safety is, maybe you could talk to us a bit about the evolution of how people are viewing campus safety and what are the biggest threats.
Sure, sure. I think, as you stated, safety is changing, right? There used to be a level of you feeling safe just because a police officer is around or just because the campus is taking the strides. But it's different now. You know, the world is different. And because the world is different, there are no boundaries. There used to be boundaries and confines. And although there are none, we're changing with the times. Like, I know that you had a conversation about cybersecurity, but that also plays into our security on the forefront. It impacts us. It impacts campus safety, whether it's cyber, whether it's an actual gunman, whether it's somebody stealing something. There is a level of we have to be prepared on all fronts, and we're working on that daily. And lots of universities have conversations to make sure who's doing the best practices, who has something different. And natural disasters are always going to happen, so we're preparing for those too. The mountain's high, but we're still climbing it, and I think we're doing a pretty good job there.
Now, you and your team have brought issues to me, videos that show some of the issues we participate, unfortunately, in causing it. And obviously, education is a big part of what we have to do. So let me jump into some specific issues, and maybe you can give me some insight into resolving them. So, sure. Having strangers in the residence halls seems to be an issue. And there are back doors, for instance, at the towers that students hold open for strangers. I'm sure with good intentions, thinking that there are folks who live there, but when we find people who are unauthorized being in the building, a lot of times that's how they've accessed the building.
Absolutely.
What is the magnitude of that problem? What are the risks associated with that? And then, you know, what's a potential solution?
Sure, sure. Well, the highest risk is that someone can always get hurt, right? Or, yes, items can get stolen, but it's more about the people. What's impacting our people and our community, and how does that really, truly lead to the next person? Because the next person, you have a roommate, you have classmates, you have friends, then you don't go to class. There's all the things that stem from an unsafe act. I think part of it is asking the community to participate, right? It's not just campus police or administration's responsibility for the safety of the facilities or the buildings or where you are. It's also you, the community. And asking them to participate and be a member of that and to work with you. So we're doing a lot of communication with them and trying to make sure that they're participating, having a good time, but being vigilant at the same time, and that they have a voice. I think part of it is them having a voice in that.
Is there value in locking down those, you know, opportunities for people to get in, but still recognizing that if we have an emergency such as a fire, we want people to have an egress to get out? And also, should we be using keycard entry, you know, more expansively?
Absolutely. You know, one of the things I would love for us to do, and it's expensive, but, you know, ignore that part right now, would be for, you know, when you have your hotel key, now you can do a mobile key.
Yep.
That we turn all of our residence hall doors into mobile keys. So then that way you can't pass your key to someone else. You can't, you know, leave the door unlocked. It's an automatic close. You got to have your phone with you. I mean, there's opportunities to do some Bluetooth so that we can give access to the right students and that kind of thing. But it's another way of locking doors. It's another way of providing and using technology that's out there to assist.
Well, one of the things that's clear, I would say, about you know, some of this is that we obviously have to make investments that are significant, and you have been making investments, and maybe we can talk about some of those. There's been a lot of conversation on campus about using the blue lights, which people can activate to alert if they feel uncomfortable or they are in danger, and having those go away and using the palms. And maybe you could explain a little bit about what was the analysis that went into kind of making that shift.
Sure, sure. So Chief Lyles led that initiative to bring the Palm and our Bison Safe app to the campus. So we removed all the blue lights. In that process, we wanted to put something that was directly in your hand. And the reason that is because at the end of the day, almost everybody's got their cell phone. To make it to a blue light, you have to get there. right? And no, they're not everywhere you are. So we wanted to provide something that was in hand and available to each and every person on the campus.
Right. Gender-based violence is an issue across the country on our campuses. What and how does the Department of Safety participate in trying to highlight this issue as well as curb it, and especially this month where we're talking about sexual harassment awareness? What types of things are you involved in?
Sure, sure. So we have a lot of partnerships, whether it be federal or local. Even for this month, for Sexual Awareness Month, we're also doing some demonstrations. And we have MPT coming by, and they're going to do basically like a PSA and have good conversations with the students. We also try to make sure that we're available. We did diversify the force, so everybody there are more women. We recognize that that was important, that you have to see yourself so that you can speak and feel like you empowered to speak up.
And when you say more women just in terms of the overall number, what's the gender balance in the force now?
Yes, over the overall number. Now, I'm not sure of the exact numbers, but we do have more in the professional staff. We're looking to get more in the leadership so that you see it up the ranks and not just on the officer level.
Right. We did an interesting tabletop exercise at Cabinet Retreat, which you led, which I thought was interesting. And that tabletop exercise, you know, just looking at if something were to happen on campus, how do we organize ourselves, et cetera. Maybe you could talk to the audience a bit about, you know, why it's important to do those things, and you know, probably what even you may have gleaned from the cabinet participating in that exercise.
Yeah. Tabletop exercises allow us to ask the questions that you don't want to ask in the middle of the emergency. You get to ask and really flush out ideas and opportunities. Maybe this was a gap, maybe it wasn't. How do we best serve? And what else do we need? So it's a great opportunity. We had a really good discussion during that tabletop, and I thought it was excellent. And the engagement was great. And I think we answered a lot of questions. I think there's still things that, well, we can't answer everything, but I think there's still things that you always want to say, well, what about this and what about that? And they allow for that opportunity.
Should we be doing that with a larger, more audiences, the deans, building managers, student leaders? What's your opinion about that? Absolutely.
Because the more voices you have, at least to tell you these are the things we have been thinking of, or to give them the ideas that they haven't been thinking of, it allows for that. And it's good conversation. It opens the door for there to be conversation and to not be afraid. And to empower the whole community.
Now, education has to be a big part of this, and training. I know that the department has been making efforts to try to educate the entire campus. Maybe you could talk about what types of trainings you offer now, and we can start there, because I do want to get into the issue of training, how much people are participating, et cetera. But probably just start first with, you know, kind of what are the trainings right now that you provide?
We have lots of trainings. We have de-escalation, we have active shooter, we also have bomb threat training. We do training for, we do sexual assault, which is sexual awareness. We do that as well. We partner with some of our internal partners with student health and whatnot, and IVPP and Title IX. So we try to do a lot of preventative training. We also have emergency preparedness training as well.
And in terms of that training, is it mandatory, and who is it for?
We have training for everybody, so it's faculty, staff, and students. Nothing is mandatory.
Yet.
And
I'll put you on the spot on that. Do you think it should be mandatory?
I do. It's interesting because Virginia, after Virginia Tech, they did make the requirement that all state Virginia schools have an emergency preparedness training at the beginning of every year. And that's for everyone. So it doesn't matter if you're faculty, staff, or student, everybody gets the same training. And that does help. I think it puts people in the right place. The only trainings that we do have that are mandatory are the fire evacuations, which are great. We're not going to stop doing those, but yeah, we could add that, absolutely.
Right, and the goal obviously is to sensitize people as to what they need to do there.
Yeah.
What's the participation like at present?
It's pretty good. So there's a lot of concern. So we have a lot of students that want to know more and want best ways to practice. We did do it for the RAs at the beginning of the year to make sure that the RAs were well prepared for an active shooter or a bomb threat. And then we've been doing it throughout the campus for faculty, staff, especially faculty. They all have concerns about their specific buildings. So we're trying to get a little more specific about how you handle your building versus it just being a general campus-wide training.
We have an open campus, and this is an ongoing discussion and debate. Should we maintain an open campus? Does that increase our risk? Should we close the campus? Should we have it partially, open or open just at certain access points so that we can control access, especially in the case of an emergency? What are your thoughts about being in an urban city like DC and having an open campus?
That's a trick question. But I feel that the way our campus is great, right? I think us being an open campus is the right thing. I don't think moving into a very locked down situation is truly going to change what someone may want to do, right? People find ways. People are like water. If they can find a way, they'll get in there. I think we just take different steps, right? Just make sure that we're prepared, we're doing the right steps, we have the right connections in the community, that we're looking out for each other. I think that's one of the bigger things. Can we have each other's backs while we're here on campus?
We've had some incidents in the past, scares around active shooter. We've had several bomb threats at many of the HBCUs. What's the current status of that activity investigation, as well as kind of the thinking of the department as to how we are responding to those things and how prepared are we to be able to secure the campus and its occupants in the event that one of those things moves from being a threat to actually being an actual emergency?
Yeah. Fortunately, but unfortunately, we have had over 8 bomb threats, and that's really prepared us. I think, unfortunately, we're subject matter experts at it at the moment, but it gave us different strategies on how we're going to deal with whether it happens on a certain side of campus, a different side of campus, working with MPD and the FBI. There's a lot of strategy and planning that we have altered due to the fact that we've had those threats. For active shooter, it's a little different. It's difficult to know best practices when we are that open. But we make the changes. We've been practicing. We're constantly training. We're constantly making sure that the force is ready. We spend time with MPD coming on campus, learning buildings, ins and outs. So we try to do it behind the scenes because I think it can be kind of scary for students. You want to have a good time. It's a nice hot day. But we do want to make sure that we're ready. So we're constantly doing something different.
You've mentioned collaborations with Metropolitan Police Department as an example. What are the other types of agencies or offices we partner with in terms of expanding our reach to ensure that we can keep and maintain a safe campus?
Absolutely. It might seem strange, but Department of Education, as well as FEMA, we've been working with Homeland Security, HCMA, which is DC's Homeland Security and Emergency Management Agency. I work with Maryland as well as Virginia's emergency management agencies, FBI as well, and then recently EPA. And I know it sounds like a stretch, but we're pulling in the EHS and a sustainability arm inside of the department, so it kind of has spanned different for safety. So there's a lot of different agencies, and it's super helpful.
And what exactly do they provide? Let's give us an example. You said EPA and employee and EHS. Maybe you could describe kind of what those partnerships look like.
Sure. So for environmental health and safety, as well as EPA and sustainability, what we're looking at for them is the preparedness arm. So if we were to have a chemical explosion, or if we were to have a biohazardous waste situation that could impact a building, and DC Water's not that far away, so we have conversations with them as well, because they have a huge pump system. So we've been strategizing on different ways because of the thorough ways we have around campus. So EPA has been talking to us about different ways that we're going to deal with if there's a hazard.
Okay, got you. And I know with the bomb threats, the FBI has been supportive. What's your assessment? There's been a lot written about people being frustrated with the investigation, not
Yeah.
holding somebody responsible. What has been our experience here at Howard with the FBI and that collaboration, especially around the bomb threats?
Sure, our experience has been pretty good. I think for us having the most, I think is the hard part, and I think people have struggled with that because why us? But at the end of the day, I think we've had a really good conversation with them. It is being run out of Texas, so it is not focused in DC. The very first threat came from Texas, so that I think that's why people feel like there's a disconnect. But we've had really good conversations with them. We're working together.
Okay. Parents, we're in an admission cycle, and we obviously going to be sending out acceptances, and parents and students are going to be making decisions, to come to campus. This is a very urban environment. The DC area, crime is up. Maybe you can give us a sense of what's happening in the DC area with respect to crime. What kinds of crime are of a concern, and what do you see the mayor's office doing to kind of abate that?
Absolutely. So the biggest crime that's up is auto theft. People are stealing cars, and they have teams called the Jump Out Boys where they come out and they'll steal a car or they'll rob you, either way. And the mayor's office is making strides. They have a task force now that's across Maryland, Virginia, and DC, so it doesn't matter if you cross state lines. It used to matter. So now it doesn't matter as much as if you cross state lines. They're trying to track you, get your car back, trying to make a prevention effort there. But they're younger. The assailants are younger. They're 15 and 14, and they look harmless, right? So that, I think, if we were concerned about, the biggest thing is auto theft.
Okay. And what about more violent crime? Shootings, you hear a lot about them. Unfortunately, thus far, it hasn't happened on our campus or in the environs around our campus, but citywide, where are we with respect to more violent crimes, such as shootings that may lead to murders, etc.?
Violent crime is up. But for our campus, what we have noticed is our campus is safer. The closer in you are, the safer it is. The further out you go, obviously, it's not as safe, and we can't see that far. But violent crime is definitely up.
So what tips are you pushing out to prospective students or newly admitted students and their parents in terms of what they should and shouldn't do as they come to campus, and especially as they move to a big city? Let's say somebody's coming from a very rural area in the Midwest and they're moving to DC. What are some of the tips that your department is pushing out to those students?
Sure. So there's always, and I'm always going to say this, we want everybody to be Bison safe. So we recommend downloading the Bison Safe app. We also recommend when you get here on campus that you get a Palm device, which is a peace of mind. You press it 3 times and it'll call us. You can also use it anywhere in the country. So even if you're in New Mexico, you can use it and it'll call the local police department. But we do want to make sure that everybody takes the time to learn about Washington, D.C. So when you're here, don't just visit the monuments, kind of drive around. Take a look around the campus and make sure you know what's around here. Catholic's not too far. We've got a lot of medical centers located central in the city. And know the ins and outs. And I think there's other tips. Obviously, don't leave things on your back seat. Make sure that you know.
As in the backseat of your car?
Yes, the back seat of your car. Please don't leave it in the back seat of your car.
So apart from auto theft, people are also breaking in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, if you leave something on your back seat, somebody's going to take it.
Okay.
Without a doubt. And then, know what's on your person. Watch out for those around you. And don't let anybody in the door when you're coming in to your residence hall.
What about travel? As you move around, should people be traveling around in groups rather than on their own? And what is the protocol if you're on campus late at night in the library, it's dark, while we try to keep the campus well lit? Can students be escorted back to their residence halls?
Yes, absolutely. So we have a couple of things. So on your Bison Safe app, you can do what's called a friend walk. And you start the walk, it basically tracks you. It doesn't track you where you're going, per se. It just makes sure that it leaves little breadcrumbs so we can see. There's also the opportunity, make sure you have your POM. You can always call us at 202-806-1100 and talk to dispatch. We also recommend working in groups, traveling in groups. And then if you're going to get in an Uber or a Lyft to do what they call Say My Name, you need to have them tell you who they are. Don't just get in the Lyft. And that's anywhere in the city. So.
Right. And on those apps now, you can also have your journey tracked. So that's certainly something I'm sure that you're going to want folks to use. Absolutely. So, as we start wrapping up, you obviously were a swimmer here.
I was.
As you mentioned. So the swim team has had a great experience recently. Before we get into how you feel about the swim team, swimming is one of those issues from a safety perspective where African Americans lag.
Yeah.
I believe African Americans are still 5 times more likely to drown than their Caucasian counterparts. And anything about that you want to comment on just from a safety point of view as people get prepared for the summer?
Yeah, and I'm also a high school swim coach. So my biggest thing is get your kids out early, get them used to the water, make sure they can put their face in. And then as you guys get ready for the summer, just know your limits and don't go past your limits. Also, it's hot outside, so drink some water.
Absolutely. So, the swim team has been doing well. You obviously were a part of it. How do you feel about their recent successes?
It's amazing, and it's an honor to have been on the swim team and to support in a different way. Nick is doing an amazing job.
Excellent. That's good to hear. And then I always like to close with, especially for Howard alums, why Howard?
Why not Howard? And then, it's amazing to be here. It is amazing to be here. It made me who I am today. I am more than honored to be back here and to give that to students, faculty, and staff and help in that format. And it's inside you. Once you get here and Howard fosters that inner piece of you that you didn't know you had, but it's always been there. It's cool to bring it back and do it again.
Excellent. Thanks for being here. My guest today was Ariel Triplett, Director of Emergency Management at Howard University. I'm Dr. Wayne Frederick. Please join me next time on The Journey.
This program was produced by WHUT and made possible by contributions from viewers like you. For more information on this program or any other program, please visit our website at whut.org. Thank you.